How's it going, everyone? It's Lumity here, and today we are going to be talking about an MMO on the Xbox Series X. We are going to be talking about Throne and Liberty. You guys know that I do like MMOs. I dabble in MMOs, and I like to try out a lot of different ones. And this is one of the newer ones that came out on Xbox. It came out late in 2024, and I just recently started it, beat it, play through all the main missions that are there currently, and they actually just released another expansion as of the recording of this video, and I've already kind of like went into the new expansion area, and this game is gorgeous. Let me just say, I love the scenery of this game. I love the world. I love all the different locations and everything. It's so beautiful. It takes just some of the best parts of fantasy and just puts them all together in this game. You know, you'll see things that will remind you of Lord of the Rings. You'll see things that will remind you of Legend of Zelda in certain areas. You just see so many different things that just remind you of other IPs. It's like it took all the best areas and all the best designs and put them into just one MMO, and I absolutely just love that. There's areas that remind me of Harry Potter. There's areas that remind me of Kingdoms of Amalur. There's areas that remind me of Skyrim. There's just so many beautiful, gorgeous areas. There's areas that remind me of World of Warcraft. They did a great job just taking a lot of the best elements of all these other games and just combining them into this amazing, fun MMO. And I do think that this is a really fun MMO. I really enjoyed my time with it. The actual story quest and everything, I enjoyed playing through the story. I don't pay attention to stories much in MMOs, if I'm being honest. I don't really care about stories in MMOs. That's not really why I play MMOs. I play it to hang out with other people and just to kind of enjoy my time with it. And just to enjoy the world building and just the overall the questing and, you know, the grinding of it. I kind of like the grinding in MMOs. And this just is a really well done grinding MMO, you know. I will say, you actually level up pretty quickly in this game, and leveling up is fun whenever you're playing through the actual story. The only thing I don't like about the leveling up in this game is whenever you level up, you have to do a lot of micromanaging your stats. There's a ton of micromanaging every single thing in this game. You have to check constantly different menus to see what type of power-ups you have and what type of ability points you have, and you have to spend them accordingly. You have to constantly be upgrading your armor, constantly be upgrading your weapons, constantly be upgrading everything, and there's so much micromanaging that it is a bit too much, if I'm being honest. And it does kind of like, it's hard to, I feel like this is going to be hard to get people into just because of how much micromanaging that there is. It's going to be hard to get, casual gamers kind of past that, but I think that even though it has that, if you can get past the micromanaging, there's still a really fun, good game here. I enjoy the story missions, I enjoy the designs of all the different characters, and I think that they did a good job with the graphics of this game. I think that looks good. In terms of its performance, it's hit or miss, I will say. Sometimes it runs great, but if it is highly populated, you're going to have some issues. Like, if it's a really busy night on the server, it may not run the best. It's going to have some stutter. Or when there's like a new update and they just added stuff, you're going to notice some stutter and some lag and stuff like that. So keep that in mind. But I think when everything is going smoothly and there is a fair amount of people online instead of, just a gigantic storm of people online, I feel like it does run pretty well, and I didn't have too many issues with that. The enemy designs look awesome. There's so many different types of enemies, and I love fighting the majority of them. And there's just so much more room for this game to grow, and there's just so much more for them to do in this game. Just so many more areas that they can add. There's already like little islands that you can see off in the distance, and you know that they have plans for those. Even when you look on the map, you can see little roads already on those islands, so you know that they have something planned for it, and it's just a matter of just kind of waiting until they get it done. But I'm just excited for the future of this game, just to see what is next, because there's just so much potential here, and I've already enjoyed what time I've put into it, and I just see myself putting a lot more time into this game. I really do enjoy it. And the nice thing is that once you play through the actual story mode and you do all the leveling and everything, you do have some different end game options that you can do. One thing that I enjoy doing is the events. There's a ton of different events. They even have like an event schedule that you can follow. And it's really easy to get used to it, and once you figure out how you go to all the different events and everything, once you get used to it, it's really fun to do these different things. There's a lot of peace events. There's some events that are literally called war, where it has like PvP stuff going on. I avoid that stuff because I prefer PvE, but that is an option for people that want to do PvP. But the events are just really fun. There's stuff where you're actually like getting a bunch of players together to fight a gigantic boss, and there's tons of different bosses where you can do that with. And they have multiple events going on all at the same time, and you have to kind of pick which event you want to do. But they have these boss events that are really fun to play through. They have these, I guess you could call them, they're usually like gathering events, where you kind of like go and you try to gather a bunch of material and take them to a certain place, a certain objective. You are basically just trying to defeat a ton of enemies, gather stuff from the enemies, and just take them somewhere and drop them off. And there's events like that all over the world, and those are really fun to do as well. I enjoyed doing those. There's actually an event that involves this gigantic whale. This whale will fly around the map every now and then, and you can track it when it's going to show up, and you can jump on the back of this whale, and you can ride on the back of this whale, this flying whale, and it's really cool. I really enjoyed all this stuff. It's just a very mystical and very fun world, and there's just a lot of stuff to do even when you beat the game. There's dungeons, and there's also like this tower challenge that you can do, where you just fight these monsters that are in this like tower. It's kind of weird. You can like go into this painting basically, and it has basically just bosses over and over and over again. It's just like constant boss fights, and you just try to see how far you can get in this tower. It's really cool, though. I like the idea of it. I think it's a really neat idea. And then there's also contracts, which is the thing that I've been focusing a lot on recently, is doing the contracts, because you can save up enough of those contract coins to start getting better equipment, and you really need to start doing that. You got to grind for it. That's where the real grind is. When you start doing contract coins and stuff like that, trying to save up contract coins and stuff like that, that's a grind right there. But so far I've enjoyed it, and it's been a lot of fun. And like I said, I just look forward to putting more time into this game. And I will say, with the new area that they've added even more contracts to do. They've added even more events. So it's just been a blast. And I highly recommend that you try Throne and Liberty. It's a free game, so it's not like you have anything to lose but your time, It's a very fun game. I think it's worth playing. Is it the best MMO ever? I don't know if I'd say that. It definitely could use more character customization options. You can only play as a human right now, and I would like to see some other races added in the future. I'd like to see some dwarfs. I'd like to see some elves. I'd like to see just some other things. Ogres, or not ogres, but orcs. Orcs are already in the game, so why not make them a playable race? So there's some other things that they could do that I would like to see in the future. So that'd be nice if they did update the customization a little bit. And the only other thing I will say is that I like every single area in this game except for the very final, end mission area. The Wizard Academy that you go to towards the end area is cool, but you go to this area with just a bunch of undead, and it's one of those things where it's just like, you never save the most dreary and boring area for last, and they did that. So I'm not a big fan of that, but however, that's the only place on the map currently that I'm not a big fan of. Everywhere else, I love the way it looks. It's just that one final area of the story. I will say also the combat in this game is very fun. I enjoyed the combat, and I enjoy all the different spells. And the way they do the class system is a little bit different in this game, because most MMOs that I'm used to, you pick your class at the very beginning of the game, and then usually a few levels in, they give you subclasses and stuff like that, or things that you are proficient in, stuff like that. This game's a little bit different. This game actually has you just equip a weapon, and depending on the weapon you equip, that actually becomes your class. So I thought that was kind of an interesting way of doing it. So if you want to play as a specific thing, if you want to play as a mage, or you want to play as a knight or something, you have to equip a weapon that they would use. So if you want to equip a wand, well, there you go. Now you're playing as a wizard. You want to equip a sword, well, there you go. Now you are like a knight or something. They have their own special names for it, but I'm trying to keep it simple. But I do like that idea. I think it's a different idea, and just a different way of doing MMOs, and it's not a bad idea. I think it's a pretty good idea overall. And I look forward to trying a bunch of different classes in the future. I started off with Sorcerer because I do like playing a lot of magic classes in MMOs, so that's what I started off with, and I do enjoy it. And I do hope that they add more weapon types in the future so we get more classes. I think it'd be really cool to just have more classes in general. But I like the combat. The combat's really fun, and you just have to keep remembering to micromanage your stats, though. Keep upgrading your stats, keep upgrading each ability you have, because you have to keep paying attention to that so you don't get destroyed by enemies later on, you know? Because if you're constantly leveling up and you're not actually going in and manually upgrading each stat, you're going to get your butt kicks later on. So keep that in mind. And you also can upgrade your weapons as you play through as well. There's actually something called weapon mastery too, so you have weapon levels that you even have to pay attention to. Again, just a bit too much micromanaging, I will say. But overall, I still think that Throne and Liberty is a very fun game. It's worth trying out. It's free, so why not at least try it out and see what you think about it. I highly recommend it. It's a fun game. It looks great. It plays great. And I am very excited to see what the future holds in store for Throne and Liberty. Let me know what you think about the game down below. Are you enjoying this game? I'm definitely enjoying this game. Let me know what your favorite part about this game is. Two of my favorite things right now are definitely the events. I love the events. But another thing I really love is the morphing in this game, because that is such a unique idea. You don't have regular mounts in this game. Your character literally is the mount. That sounds kind of odd. But what I mean by that is that your character can literally change into animals. And that is the way that you get places faster, other than just using like stones to travel and use, you know, the fast travel function or whatever. But you can actually turn into animals, and you have different options for depending on what you're doing. So if you are just running on land, you have certain options for that. If you are in the water, you have different animals you can turn into. If you're in the water, you have different animals you can turn into. If you jump into the air and you want to glide, because you can actually fly in this game, which is awesome. So there's just a lot of cool stuff going on with the morphing abilities, and they just keep adding more morphs that you can use and turn into. They just added an owlbear recently, which looks sick. And you can purchase some of these things. Some of them you can purchase. Some of them you can also earn in-game. So keep that in mind whenever you're seeing a lot of these different morphs. But there's a lot of cool ones. There's even fun ones where you can just turn into stuff just for the fun of it, you know? You can literally turn into just a really fat orc, or you can turn into, you know, a mandrake, or any of these other things. It's really cool. Let me know what you think about this game. I'll talk to you next one. You guys have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.